Alright, here we are through the Bible with William Lansdowne, Daniel chapter 2. This is a huge chapter in the Bible. Huge. Daniel, let me give you a background on the book of Daniel and Daniel himself. First of all, Daniel was basically a slave in the land of Babylon. He was an Israelite. Israel was overtaken by Babylon. King Nebuchadnezzar overthrew it. God gave, the first verse of the book of Daniel says, God gave Jehoiakim, king of Israel, into the hand of King Nebuchadnezzar. Basically, what happened was this country of Israel sinned against God. They started worshiping idols. And that didn't sit well with the God that said, hey, I am the living God, have no gods before me, don't make any graven images, commit adultery, yada, yada, yada. Well, basically, those things were all for a purpose. To stay in touch with the God that brought you out of Egypt, protected your forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all these people, and brought them and gave them that land of Israel. Well, Daniel was one of those people, but his people turned away from God, so God gave them into the hand of their enemies. It's a reoccurring theme. If you catch on to that in the Bible, you're doing good. The reoccurring theme is Israel was doing great. God be blessing them, protecting them. They'd leave him. Next thing you know, they'd be in trouble. But as I was saying, so Daniel was taken as a slave over to the land of Babylon. And the whole reason God gave Israel into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. Now, the overall theme of the book of Daniel is that there's one king. That's Jesus. That's God. That is the ruler of all things. Man will have his kingdoms. They'll come and go. But ultimately, God's in charge of who rules those kingdoms, what goes on. And he allows us to have our power and our ability. If you're a manager at someone that over people at work, guess what? God gave you that position. Jesus looks right into the eye of Pontius Pilate when he said, don't you know, Jesus, I got the power to set you free or the power to have you crucified? And Jesus said, you don't have any power given to you except it was from above. But how else should the scripture be fulfilled? And if this was my kingdom, my angels would fight that I would not be delivered into your hands. At that point, Pilate got freaked out. It's like, I don't want anything to do with this guy. But back to the theme, God's in control. And he's quick to announce that through this book. He really wants to let the world know, hey, I'm ultimately in charge here. And in this chapter 2 of Daniel, we see that. What we're going to see here, it's real simple. You don't have to complicate Bible prophecy and all that. Basically, this prophecy is so simple because the interpretation is given right after the prophecy. And what is prophecy? It's just a telling of something that's going to come. There's a prophecy in the Bible that says, they pierced my feet and hands. It's the Bible prophesying what type of death the Messiah would have. They divided my garments among them. They rolled dice. They cast lots for my garments. Another prophecy. The Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. It's just full of them, you know. And it prophesies what happens with all these various kingdoms. But I guess without further ado, we'll jump into this book of Daniel. And I guess I'll start to give an overview of Daniel. He was a really smart kid. He took a stand for God. And he was smart enough to be chosen to serve in the king's court. And he became one of the wise men. And he got all the wise men out of trouble several times. And this is the one case where he does. Let's get into it. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, he dreamed a dream, wherein his spirit was troubled, and his sleep broke from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and astrologers and sorcerers and Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king, and the king said to them, I have a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then they spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. You know, they're brown-nosing. Tell thy servants the dream, and we'll show you the interpretation. You ever seen those little books in Walden's books or whatever? You dreamed of clouds, it means this. You dreamed of water, it means that. They're like, okay, tell us what you dreamed, and we're going to flip to page whatever in our little book or what we've learned over the years, and we'll tell you what you meant. But this situation was more complicated than that. And the king said to them, I dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans, let us know. But the king answered and said, the dream is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation of, you shall be cut into pieces, and your houses made a dunghill. But if you show me the dream and the interpretation thereof, you will receive gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. Basically, we got two extremes here. If you show me the dream, you're going to be rich and wealthy and get honor. If you don't, I'm going to cut you into pieces and turn your house into rubble. See, the thing is, it's easy to tell somebody interpretation of a dream if they tell you the dream. He forgot what he dreamed. Just imagine going to work tomorrow or school or wherever, and someone coming up to you and say, I had this dream last night and it bothered me because it was serious. And you're ready to say, yeah, tell me what it is. People are always doing that. Man, I dreamed I was floating down the river in some water and there were snakes around me. And then I fell off a cliff and then a balloon caught me. What does it mean, you think? People love doing that. Well, the deal is, he didn't know what he dreamt. He forgot it. So imagine someone coming to you and saying, I had this crazy dream last night. And they're like, all right, what is it? Maybe I can shed some insight into this. And if they're one of these occult people, you got them all around you. The New Age, astrologers, cult. I got to admit it. When I was growing up, it all fascinated me, But the cool thing is, the true spiritual side is God and Jesus. Because that other stuff's pretty dark. But the thing is, these people were wise men. I'm not discrediting them. But the thing is, they didn't know the dream that he dreamt. So they answered and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we'll tell you what it meant. King answered, I know of a certainty that you're just trying to get time, because you know it's gone from me. If you won't tell me the dream, there's one thing to do. Be prepared, you lying and corrupt people, that you want to speak lies to me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know you can tell me the interpretation. Imagine the confidence you would have in someone if you went into work or school and said, I dreamed something, I can't remember what it was, but I want to know what it means because I woke up troubled and freaked out. And they said, you know what? You dreamed about a field and it was empty and then it grew some wheat. You'd be like, wow, I didn't tell them my dream and they knew it. These people couldn't figure it out, so they're trapped. Okay. The Chaldean answers and said, there's not a man upon earth that can show the king's matter. There is no king, no lord, no ruler has ever asked such a crazy thing of any magician, any astrologer, or any Chaldean. And it's a rare thing that you've asked this, and requires no one can show it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this cause the king was angry and furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the decree went out that the wise men should be slain. And they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Wow. And there's another theme in the book of Daniel, and this is what it is. This guy is always coming up against trouble. In the first chapter, if you look, while he was a slave there, he refused to eat the king's meat because it was offered to idols. And he believed he would be defiling himself by doing this. He took a stand for God. He's like, and I'm telling you, they got steak. They got this awesome stuff. It looked amazing and it smelled good and it was great. But he's like, I'm not going to eat it, because if I eat it, I'm defiling God. So guess what? He gets in trouble. He's like, if you do this, I'm going to be in trouble. You got to eat. He took a stand. It was a little one. He took it. His countenance was fair from not eating that meat or whatever it was. And then we see another time. Now he's in trouble again. He's threatened to be cut into pieces and his house destroyed. And then later you'll see where him and his friends, or actually his friends, are threatened to be thrown into a thing of fire. And it just doesn't end. He's put in these positions of like back against the wall. And the cool thing is God delivered him every time. And we serve the same God, the God of the Bible. So the cool theme of the book of Daniel, another theme, is you get put in these crazy situations. Guess what? Our God's not a God that doesn't listen and that doesn't deliver. He'll set you out of your problem. It might be financial. You might need to come up with $920 for rent that you just can't seem to find. You know, you might be facing a firing at work or a demotion. Don't worry. Just like Daniel and these guys, you just seek God, it'll be all right. He will come through for you. Okay, so Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch. This is the guy sent to say, I got to kill you, man. The captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. And Daniel went in and desired of the king, give me some time, and that he'll show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then the secret was revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed God in heaven, and Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. He changes the times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. There's that theme again. He gives wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He reveals the deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers, who's given me the wisdom and might, and hast made unto me the known unto me what was desired of thee. For you have made known unto me the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had ordered to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went thus to him, destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me into the presence of the king, and I'll show the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus to him, I found a man in the captives of Judah, who'll make known the king the interpretation. Does this sound familiar? Remember the story of Joseph? There was that guy thrown into prison, and he's like, man, I had this dream last night. What does it mean? I was tied to a tree and the crows plucked my eyes out. And another guy's like, I had a dream that I had a cup of wine and I did whatever with it. And he's like, okay, your dream means the king's not going to forgive you. You're going to get killed. Your dream is you're going to go back to serving the king his wine, whatever. I mean, it was a little more complex than that. Then finally, this king of Egypt has these troubling dreams. And the guy remembers, oh, I forgot about that Joseph. I was supposed to mention him to the king to get him out of Pharaoh, to get him out of prison, but I forgot. But let me bring him to you, Pharaoh, and he'll tell you the meaning of dreams. Look at the theme in both of those books. This king of Nebuchadnezzar was shown a dream from God about the times. The king Pharaoh was shown a dream about his times. God speaks to people. He speaks to them in dreams and night visions to show them his plans. I mean, it was said about Moses when Aaron and Miriam murmured against him. He said, are you afraid to murmur against Moses, whom I speak with personally, like face-to-face type stuff? If there's a prophet among you, I visit him in a night dream or this or that. But Moses, I'm tight with him. But basically, God speaks to people in this manner. It's awesome, and he really does it with kings and dignitaries a lot throughout the Bible to show his plan and his power to people. Okay, so back to the dream. Actually, let's pause this, and we'll pick it up on the next one. I'll give you, next we'll pick it up with the dream and the interpretation and all that stuff. Thanks for listening to Through the Bible with William Lansdowne. I'm going to try to keep these short, but it's going to be awesome. Thank God.